Hello and welcome to the Cinematic Summary channel. In this video, we'll give you an easy and quick rundown of another critically acclaimed film. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give the video a like if you enjoyed it.
A couple embarks on an exclusive journey of a few people on an isolated and luxurious island, where a mysterious chef prepares an exquisite and expensive menu. However, they soon discover that the dining experience will have some shocking surprises, taking culinary to a new level. If you want to know this story, watch the video. The film begins with the couple Tyler and Margot on the pier waiting for a boat. There are only 12 guests for a dinner, which, according to him, will have a magical and very special flavor. Among the guests are people of status such as food critic Lillian Bloom. Upon entering the vessel, they also discover among the guests the presence of Damian Garcia, a famous movie star in the region. When they land on the isolated island of Hawthorne, Elsa, the chef's assistant, greets them with their names on the list. Elsa notices Margot is not on the list, as she is accompanying Tyler in place of his ex-girlfriend. Guests are given a tour of Hawthorne Island, where Elsa introduces them to all of the facilities. She says everyone there is a disciplined family who harvests, ferments, and prepares everything to the highest standard. Tyler asks who owns the most isolated house on the premises, and Elsa says it belongs to Chef Slowick. Everyone enters the restaurant and settles into their seats, sips wine, and watches the kitchen staff at work. Sitting at the table, Margot and Tyler see Chef Slowick in the kitchen, who stares at them from afar. Sometime later, the starter is served: cucumber, melon, and milk snow. Everyone tastes the food and talks over wine. Margot asks Tyler where all his food worship comes from. Tyler states that many famous people are assholes and useless, but chefs are not, as they work with the fundamental elements of life and death. He is passionate about gastronomy programs and reality shows, and says he repeats each episode 2 or 3 times. Tyler says he's watched the Slowick Chef episode 20 times to appreciate the minutiae of all of his culinary artistry. Later, Chef Slowick approves one of the garnishes, so everyone gets to work on making the first dish. He approaches the guests, claps hands, greets them, and introduces himself. Then he talks about all the substances that the guests will eat that night. Chef Slowick asks guests not to eat simply, but to feel, taste, and enjoy the food. The first dish is served. It is called the Island. Slowick delivers a romanticized speech about the beauty of nature's ingredients, and everyone applauds. Tyler cries with emotion at the speech, and he takes pictures of the dish. Afterward, the chef asks the cooks to organize the second dish. With a clap of his hands, Slowick discusses bread, which is something popular for ordinary people, but he announces that there will not be any bread served that night. The next dish is called breadless bread platter with savory accompaniments. It amazes the guests. Some think it's a joke, others crazy, but everyone likes the taste, even without bread. The critic Ms. Bloom thinks it's classless and notices a slightly separated emulsion and comments on its low level for that restaurant. Suddenly, Elsa appears with a plate full of curdled emulsion, said to be courtesy of Chef Slowick. At another table, the guests ask Elsa to bring them some bread, but curtly, she just replies, "No." One of them tries to use authority, and still gets a no. Tyler realizes that Margot isn't going to eat the food, so he removes her plate and accidentally drops the glass, breaking it. This catches the attention of the chef, who goes to the table. Slowick is worried about Margot for not eating. She appreciates the concern, but says she can decide how much and what she will eat. The chef then leaves and asks the cooks to prepare the third dish. After, Chef Slowick claps his palms and announces the next dish, which is called souvenir. He talks about his childhood memories of having taco night at home and introduces everyone to his mother at one of the tables. Slowick recounts that when he was 7, his drunken father wrapped a telephone cord around his mother's neck, and to stop him, he stabbed his father's thigh with a pair of scissors. He comments that he should have stabbed him in the throat, but it was still an unforgettable taco night. Some guests at the table comment that this is the kind of story that makes a chef an artist with a macabre sense of humor. Chef Slowick presents his dish: breast chicken thigh smoked al pastor and tortillas with family recipe pasta. He says he hopes taco night will evoke strong memories in everyone and wishes them bon appetit. Ms. Bloom looks at the tortilla and sees drawings of restaurants she had closed in the city, and perceives images of her and Richard, and also images of him with a woman she suspects. Tyler sees in the tortillas images of himself taking pictures of the chef's dishes and gets upset, thinking that the chef doesn't like him. Damian Garcia sees commercial footage from the worst movie he's ever made, called Dr. Sunshine. At another table, businessmen discover compromising tax records revealing transfers they made to a tax haven in the tortillas. Tyler worries about fixing his image with the chef, and Margot calls the sommelier to return the tortillas. He calls Margot a child and states that returning the chef's food is disrespectful. She gets offended and leaves the table. Margot leans out of the bathroom window to smoke a cigarette. Suddenly Chef Slowick walks in asking why she didn't eat the last dish. Then the chef asks who Margot was, saying that she shouldn't be in that restaurant. She curses him and tells him to get out of her way. After a while, it's time to announce the fourth dish of the night, and the chef claps his hands to get everyone's attention. He features sous chef Jeremy Loudon and acknowledges that he is talented but will never achieve greatness. Then he talks about the emotional toll it takes. The chef asks Jeremy if this was the life he dreamed of, and the sous chef says no. Slowick kisses Jeremy on the cheek and announces the fourth course of the night, which is called Sous Chef Jeremy's Mess. At that moment, Jeremy takes a gun and commits suicide in front of everyone by shooting himself in the mouth. The guests are in shock at what's happening, and Tyler says he doesn't expect it and thinks it's an act. Slowick tries to reassure everyone by saying that this was a show that is part of the menu. While some guests take their seats and express shock, others say it's just an act. They place the dish on the table: a mess, vegetables under pressure, baked fish, and potato confit. Richard wants to leave the restaurant. Elsa asks him which hand he will take care of it with, stating that if he doesn't choose one of them, she will. The question surprises Richard, but Elsa sends 2 employees to take the ring finger of the left hand, and a cook cuts it off in front of everyone. Richard's moaning without the finger shocks some, while others wonder if it was an act. Elsa asks Margot to speak with Chef Slowick in the kitchen. The chef asks again who Margot is, saying that she is not part of his painfully planned plan. He tells Margot that she is ruining his plan and gives her 15 minutes to decide which side to support, the guests or the cooks. When Margot inquires about her survival by siding with the cooks, the chef responds that this is not possible, as everyone must die that night to preserve the menu. He asks everyone in the kitchen if they agree. Everyone responds, "Yes, chef." The chef puts a 15-minute timer on the table and orders the next dish to be prepared by telling everyone, "I love you all." The cooks say, "We love you too, chef." The chef claps his hands again and announces a tea to cleanse everyone's palate. Guests ask Slowick what's going on, while a businessman claims to be an employee of the angel investor at that restaurant. Chef Slowick says he owns the angel investor now. Then the lights outside the restaurant come on, and the investor appears suspended in the air with angel wings. Slowick says he was always questioning his menu, telling him to make substitutions. The restaurant's investor goes down the ropes until he disappears, drowning in the sea. After a while, Elsa tells Margot that the chef wants to see her in the office. Once there, Margot says she wants to be on the side of the chef and reveals that she is an escort hired to be at that dinner. A while later, the chef goes to the guests to invite everyone out of the restaurant. He says sous chef Catherine Keller will present the next dish. Catherine announced the name of the dish, Man's Madness. Chef Slowick approaches her and Catherine stabs him with kitchen scissors in the leg, then they both embrace. The chef says the men will have 45 seconds to get away before his team members give chase. Only the women eat the sixth dish, Madness of the Man Crab, fermented yogurt, dried grapes, umeboshi, and seaweed. Meanwhile, some try to flee without direction, escape by boat or hide, but they brought everyone back to the restaurant. The chef reveals that Tyler secretly knew in advance that everyone there would die that night. Slowick asks Tyler about Margot. He says that she replaced his ex-girlfriend because the restaurant didn't provide individual tables. Margot, upon learning that Tyler hired her as an escort to die, jumps on the table and attacks him. The chef praises Tyler as a great connoisseur of food and sends him to prepare a dish in the kitchen in front of everyone. Tyler clumsily creates a poorly made dish, and the chef disapproves of the food. Chef Slowick accuses Tyler of taking the mystery out of the art, then whispers something in his ear, and he leaves the kitchen. After that, the chef calls Margot and says that there will be one last dish on the menu. He instructs her to get a barrel from the smokehouse that Elsa forgot to get. When she goes outside to get the barrel, she sees that Tyler is hanged in a storeroom. Margot leaves the restaurant and goes to Chef Slowick's house. There, she encounters Elsa, who tells her that she has been a problem ever since she arrived. Elsa accuses Margot of trying to steal her position, and the two fight with a knife until Margot knocks her to the ground and sticks the knife in her throat. Margot takes a key from Elsa's body and opens a silver door in the house. Inside, she finds paintings and newspaper articles from the chef and a communication radio. Later, Margot returns to the restaurant with the barrel, and the chef tells her to sit down. Suddenly, a vessel approaches the island and Slowick orders everyone to behave, because if they ask for help, they would put the life of an innocent person in danger. A Coast Guard officer enters the restaurant asking who made a radio report of violence there. The chef jokes, saying that they don't usually serve radio transmitters with meals, and his cooks laugh. The police officer identifies Damien Garcia, says he is a fan of his, and approaches the actor to get an autograph. Damien takes a pen and writes a distress call on a piece of paper. When the officer reads the message, he pulls out a gun and points it at everyone, asking them to raise their hands. The guests get excited and ask the police for help to say that the chef is crazy. The police officer tells everyone to be quiet and asks Slowick to kneel with his hands on his head. But soon after, it turns out to be just a cook at the restaurant putting on an act. Then Chef Slowick tells Margot that she has betrayed his trust and she is nothing more than a freeloading eater. Slowick sends the cooks to prepare the next dish. Suddenly Margot stands up and claps her hands towards the kitchen and says she doesn't like the chef's food. Chef Slowick laments and asks what's wrong with his food. Margot says that the chef takes away her enjoyment of eating because everything that night was an obsessive intellectual exercise, not food prepared with love. She says that the dishes are weak, and he failed in his purpose as a cook since she was still starving. Chef Slowick is upset about the situation and asks what she wants to eat and claims the kitchen has everything. Margot orders a classic $9.95 cheeseburger, not a gourmet. The chef says he's going to make the best cheeseburger she's ever had. After preparing everything, he takes the sandwich to her table. Margot tastes it and says that it was a real cheeseburger, but she can't eat it all, so she asks him to pack it to go. Slowick prepares a to-go package and thanks her for having dinner at the Hawthorne restaurant. Margot puts $10 on the table and takes the package out of the restaurant and walks slowly out the door. After that, Chef Slowick asks the guests for the bill before serving the dessert. He tells the guests that they were the bane of his art and his life, but at that moment, they would become part of his masterpiece. The restaurant cooks spread garnishes on the tables and the floor around the guests. Then, they dress the guests in a marshmallow vest and chocolate hat. The chef says that dessert is the most offensive attack ever invented on the human palate. The s'more. He is made from dubious chocolate, gelatinized sugar water, wrapped in an industrial biscuit. The chef takes a piece of coal in his hands and goes to the center of the restaurant and says, "I love you all." Restaurant cooks say, "We love you, chef." Then he drops the coal on the floor and the flames spread around the tables, setting him and everyone in the restaurant on fire. Margot manages to catch the boat from the pier and sails away from the island, eating her cheeseburger.
So, did you like the video? We'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions on the movie, so please leave a comment below. Also watch other of our summaries of the best movies in cinema. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in our next video.